Tonight, the Lheidli T'enneh and UNBC continue to build on their long-standing partnership. Plus, extreme cold temperatures across BC drove peak hydro usage. And get out your shovels, Prince George is under a snowfall warning. Good evening and welcome to the CKPG News at 5. I'm Adam Burles. UNBC has taken another step on its road towards truth and reconciliation. The relationship between the university and the Lheidli T'enneh goes as far back as 1994, and today it moved on its next steps.
It was a gathering for a celebration of a relationship between the University of Northern BC and the Lheidli T'enneh. 18 plaques will be mounted in all 18 buildings on campus, pledging respectful acknowledgement, and it's meaningful for Chief Darlene Logan.
Because it's going to be in every one of their buildings. It's not just in the main area, it's going to be everywhere. So every building they go to, they're going to see the plaque. So there'd be no excuse when someone says Lheidli T'enneh and they go, who?
The relationship began with the Lheidli T'enneh Northern Promise Partnership Program, where UNBC pays for the tuition for Lheidli students, while the Lheidli T'enneh pays for housing, books, and other costs. UNBC then added a relationship between the Lheidli T'enneh elders and the UNBC Timberwolves, where a portion of the annual sales of Timberwolves merchandise will go toward the Elder Society activities. And this is just one more extension of that relationship.
It came about through conversations that we've been having with Chief Logan. And the commitment of what's next in terms of our journey on truth and reconciliation. We had the strategic plan just launched here at UNBC, Act on Truth and Reconciliation. And what's really important is the word act. We didn't want to commit, we didn't want to be excited by those types of things. We wanted to be very action-oriented.
And it's one that has been around for years.
It's been around since the UNBC started. Like I mentioned that I remember when the Queen came up, and it was my mom, Phyllis Logan, and Elder Mary Gucci that came up to greet her, to welcome her to UNBC. So the partnership has been there. It just really hasn't been pushed out there until the label of Truth and Reconciliation came up.
Well, I think what's really important about the partnership is it stems back to 1994, so long before I had arrived on campus. So each individual leader, each university community of that era has been and trying to be acting on truth and reconciliation.
The Lheidli T'enneh has been actively supporting the revitalization of its language, and Chief Logan has a dream of what she'd personally like to see as a next step in this process.
It would be nice to be able to have a language course up here, and the key is to be able to get people to push them towards it, to want to take it, and not because they have to take it.
UNBC joins a long list of organizations with similar pledges, including the city, the regional district, the public library, the College of New Caledonia, and the Chamber of Commerce. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
Not surprisingly, this most recent cold snap was a record breaker for BC Hydro. Extreme cold temperatures across BC drove peak hydro usage on Friday night to a record of 11,003 megawatts. That new record exceeded the amount used in December of 2022. According to BC Hydro, despite the draw on power, it was not required to tap into outside sources of electricity.
One of the great things about BC Hydro's hydroelectric system is that we do a lot of careful planning for times like this, and our reservoirs are able to be ramped up or ramped back, as it were, to meet really energy intensive periods like we saw over the weekend, and just as quickly we can pull them back. So it's a real advantage that BC Hydro and, well, the province has.
Tonight, a town hall meeting on the hazards of sextortion and online safety will take place at Vanier Hall at 6 p.m. The event was organized in response to a tragic incident in October where a 12-year-old from the local community took their own life, reportedly due to sextortion, according to the police. This evening's meeting will be hosted by School District 57 representatives, the BC RCMP Integrated Child Exploitation Team, and Safer Schools Together. Parents will have the opportunity to ask questions during the session, which begins at 6 p.m. The event is free of charge.
Sextortion is a really difficult thing to speak about. It's really challenging for youth to approach an adult and be able to share what happened, especially considering it can involve images or videos of an intimate nature. It can be embarrassing to talk about what's happened. It's important for us to remember that any child that's been involved in this sort of incident is a victim of a criminal offense, and they should be treated as such.
Premier David Eby is visiting Prince George tomorrow through to Thursday, and several community advocates hopes he takes some time to visit our support centres and Moccasin Flats to see how the province could help. In a letter addressed to the Premier, Health Minister Adrian Dix and Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon, several community advocates and shelter workers hope the Premier will tour the various shelters and Moccasin Flats to get the boots-on-the-ground experience of what's happening in our community. Highlighting the importance of working together, the letter urges the Premier to get more than the top-down view from City Council and also see what the people putting in the work on the ground level are experiencing. By seeing some of the challenges himself, the letter hopes the Premier and the provincial government could be moved to take action.
We're really excited that he's doing a tour with the city, but we would like him to come and take a look at where we work and what we do and the issues that we deal with. As much as the city might be able to do, we just think we'd have another lens to look through. Councillors and officials being in their offices and they're busy with work, so it's just good. I think it would be good for them to come and see our perspective and see what we do. And with the tiny house project, sort of just understanding that we are a temporary emergency situation. We're trying to fix that problem. It is not a permanent solution.
A snowfall warning is in effect for this evening, with 15 to 20 centimeters expected in the Prince George area. While it is not uncommon for this time of year, with January usually having heavy snowfall, Environment Canada is urging drivers to use caution and to adjust your driving with changing road conditions. Environment Canada has issued 3 highway alerts for Highway 97 to Pine Pass, the Yellowhead Highway, and Highway 97 from Clinton to 100 Mile House.
Well, we've got probably 10 centimeters overnight with another 5 tomorrow potentially. So we're looking at, getting closer to 15 centimeters for the highest locations, maybe even going above that if, the model is underperforming and reality is overperforming, if you will. It's happening on the heels of extreme cold. So certainly we need cold in the forecast, and we haven't had too much of that dating back to the fall and really last winter, because we've had our warmest December on record for many locations right across the province, including Williams Lake, just in the Caribou, and many places in the top 5. So once we finally had the cold, obviously any moisture that comes into contact with those temperatures is going to fall as snow. And that's really what's happening here. We're kind of releasing the hold of the Arctic influence.
If you're looking for something new to do, Studio 2880 will be demonstrating a relatively unknown but incredibly satisfying and productive hobby. Tommy Osborne got a demonstration from the Prince George Woodturners Guild.
A tradition that's been around since the Middle Ages, wood turning is possibly one of the most satisfying things to watch. As the name implies, you turn or spin wood incredibly fast using a lathe, and from there you scrape or cut off pieces of the wood to go from a square piece to a round piece. If it sounds simple, that's because at a base level, it is. While mastering it takes a lot of commitment and practice, the Prince George Woodturners Guild says it's a pretty accessible hobby for newcomers.
I can start out and I can have a few mistakes where I think, well, this is, I can throw this away, and so I take it off and I put it in what we call the burn pile. And I come back to it later when my skill level has increased and I'm able to rescue it.
Whether you're making simple things like honey dippers or pens, or entire sets of furniture, Powers says there's something for everyone. Beyond wood turning being both fun and productive, Powers says it's also a great way to get out in the community, which can be a huge help for mental health.
Hobbies keep us from, a lot of negative kind of experiences, drinking, whatever, because a lot of gentlemen or ladies our age, if they have nothing to do, it's too easy to overeat, overdrink, overworry, overgamble. I met a whole new group of people after I retired from my work life that I would have never met.
The Woodturners Guild is open for people of all ages, and if you want to get a free sneak peek and trial run, they'll be at Studio 2880 on January 25th to introduce newcomers to the hobby. From there, you can decide if it's the right hobby for you, But besides the free intro on January 25th, you can also borrow the Guild's equipment early on, so it'll cost pretty much nothing to at least give it a shot. Whether you're making a honey dipper or a pen, there's a lot of really awesome things you can make with the Prince George Woodturners Guild, and not only is it a really satisfying process to watch, it is equally as fun, probably even more so, to actually do it yourself. So come on down to Studio 2880 if you're interested in picking up a new hobby and learning a little bit more about what wood turning is all about. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
Joining us now to talk a bit about some politics is Cheryl Jan. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us. Big week for us this week. Natural Resources Forum will be in town starting tomorrow. First of all, tell us, what is the Natural Resources Forum?
Well, it's the 21st Natural Resources Forum. It's a chance for politicians, for industry, big industry, like BC Hydro, Fortescue, Artemis Gold, all of those big wigs, to come and meet together and exchange kind of almost like a list of demands, things they would like to see happen. And these are the movers and shakers of both the political world and industry. And this is the 21st annual. And it's going to be a very intense 72 hours. Lots of deals going on behind closed doors.
So you mentioned all the people that are going to be there. Some big names are going to be at this Natural Resources Forum this year. Give us just a couple names of who's going to be here today.
In terms of politicians, we have, of course, the Premier, David Eby, tops things off with a keynote speech at tomorrow evening's dinner. He usually comes with some news, hopefully. And on top of that, we've got a Federal Minister of Energy, Mr. Wilkinson, Jonathan Wilkinson will be here, but that's on Wednesday. Plus, we have a lot of ministers here, provincial and federal. Obviously, Bruce Ralston, Forestry, Josie Osborne from Energy Mines, ministers like that really make a difference for these companies. And sometimes it's the companies that take advantage of these people being here to sort of drop a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'd sort of like to see this happen, and sometimes it does.
And again, sort of what you alluded to there, ministers and politicians and companies too, they don't come to the NRF empty-handed.
No.
And if they do, it's usually a big mistake on their behalf.
Yeah.
So they always come with some sort of an announcement regarding to industry up here in PG.
Definitely. We'll all be waited with bated breath to see what the Premier comes with tomorrow. I'm sure he's got a few in his pocket that we'll learn about tomorrow. And then who knows? I mean, we have to kind of just roll with the punches. It's going to be, like I say, a very intense 72 hours.
And setting aside of the politicians for just a moment, lots of interesting panels. The forum is built around various different panel discussions with ministers and industry leaders. There are some interesting topics on this year's agenda.
Yeah, some keynote, for example. We have, as an example, building a BC forest sector roadmap to 2030. What is another panel? Resource Minister's Breakfast, and then we have healing the land, a vision for progressive practices and land legacies, things like that. These are sidebars that people can attend and learn, exchange, and it's rubbing elbows with fellow people, industry leaders that might not get to see one another, and this is our one event to do so.
And topics like this, with the building a BC forestry sector roadmap, that's critically important, what we just went through in the summer, moving ahead into the next 5-6 years.
Yep.
So it's going to be very important. We're going to be having a lot of fun, you and I, at the NRF, so
yeah,
we'll be very busy. But for now, that's it. Thank you very much, Cheryl.
You're very welcome. And the other one I'm wanting to mention also, and I failed to mention, it's also an opportunity for perhaps the smaller players to get a chance to bend the ear of big industry,
right.
Do deals, make sign contracts, get their foot in the door, get the face to the name kind of thing. So yeah, it's a very big deal.
Get their feet wet.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Cheryl, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Adam.
The lowest gas price in Prince George is $1.42.9 per liter at Costco. The lowest gas price in BC is in 100 Mile House at $1.29.9 per liter. Manitoba currently has the lowest gas prices in the country on average at $1.15.2 per liter. Meanwhile, BC has an average price of $1.56.5 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
Plenty of sports action happened from Friday to Sunday here in PG. Anthony Correa breaks it all down in the CKPG Sports Weekend Recap.
Weekend recap starting with the team on home ice in the Prince George Cougars. Kelowna visiting in its all PG on Friday. It was the 17-18-19 line making a major impact. Carlin Dezane recorded his first career hat trick, while newcomer Boria Vallis impressed the fans with 3 assists of his own, while Zach Funk added 2 helpers himself. Ty Young turned aside 25-27 on the way to a 5-2 victory for Prince George. But like any team, the Rockets came back tough the next night. After trailing 2-0, Prince George fought back to tie things at 2, courtesy of Andre Becker and Tarek Parasak, but they couldn't beat goalie Jari Kikkonen in the third period, overtime, and the shootout, as the Rockets goalie makes 34 saves and steals the second game for the Cougars. Overall, the team still took 3 of 4 points from Kelowna in a positive weekend.
I think it was good to get back in front of the home crowd again after a long road trip there. I think we were happy with 3 points, but obviously that fourth would have been nice. So those are ones that you wish you could get back, but I liked our comeback effort in that one. So I was good to see a little bit of adversity for our group.
Huge credit goes out to Valley and Funk, where those two worked hard that night and got me the puck. So yeah, it was nice to capitalize on my chances and get the hat trick. It's definitely a moment that I'll remember for a long time, but good for the confidence, good for that line and our chemistry, but yeah, just nice to have under the belt now.
Now to the Spruce Kings, and Friday seemed to be a successful day for Prince George hockey. After trailing 3-1 heading to the third period, a 3-goal comeback was mounted, capped off by this moment in the extra frame.
Killian McGregor-Bennett with speed. He's got Trent Ballantyne with him. McGregor-Bennett in, shoots! McNicholas, he scores! Killian McGregor-Bennett scores the game winner!
Killian McGregor-Bennett in overtime, scoring his second of the game, and Prince George getting a huge 4-3 road win. Unfortunately, Sunday in Trail was the opposite, as the Spruce Kings got outplayed by the Smoke Eaters in a 4-1 final. They split their weekend as they head into the BCHL All-Star break. Now to hoops, as UNBC headed to Regina, where the men and women played a 2-game set. But it was all Cougars over the weekend, as neither UNBC team could get a win on the road. The men fall to 6-6 on the year, while the women fall to 2-10. Both teams back home this weekend when the UBC Thunderbirds come to town. Also Pride weekend. That wraps up the CKPG Sports Weekend Recap. I'm Anthony Correa.
The TSX is up 72 points to close at 21,061. The Dow Jones is unchanged due to an American national holiday. And CN Rail went down 61 cents to close at $168.61.
Snowfall warnings and highway alerts in effect all throughout the Cariboo and several areas of the province today. Actually, a lot of areas expecting snowfall, heavy snowfall at times, to begin accumulating tonight, carrying through into Tuesday morning as well. Speaking of, here's our future cast. So tonight in the Prince George area, very strong chance of snowfall. That's expected to continue pretty steadily all throughout that overnight period, throughout the morning on Tuesday as well, and throughout the day on Tuesday. We have a chance of flurries lingering after that for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's kind of the case really all throughout this week. So very cool temperatures paired with another round of snowfall thanks to an Arctic front that's also hitting other areas in the province this week. Highs tomorrow across BC. Terrace with the high of around -1. Prince Rupert a little bit warmer. Fort St. John cooling off a little bit to high of around -17. Prince George -10. Again, we are expecting some pretty typical winter temperatures. So compared to what we've been experiencing earlier this winter, this is a little bit of a jolt. It certainly was last week, and more of the same this week. Taking a look at the highs across the rest of the broadcast region tomorrow, Vanderhoof with a high of -10, Fort St. James around -13, Mackenzie area around -9, Quesnel a little bit warmer at around -8. Across the rest of the country for tomorrow, Whitehorse with a high of around -15, Yellowknife, their high around -25, Edmonton -16, Regina -20, snowfall in the Winnipeg area with a daytime high of around -16. That snow snowfall continuing for the Toronto and Montreal areas, both below zero as well, expected for tomorrow. Looking ahead, we do have some increasing cloudiness in the forecast now in the Prince George area. We may see a bit of a break and get a little bit more sunshine in our midweek period, but bookended our week is by cloud cover. So lots of clouds in the forecast. Here's our extended forecast. So tonight in the Burns Lake area, again, expecting plenty of snowfall. That's why that snowfall warning is in effect. Definitely be mindful of that if you're heading out on any of the area highways. Snowfall continuing for Tuesday as well. Pretty consistent temperatures. They're quite chilly, but again, they are pretty stable. Wednesday, there's that break with some sunshine before the cloud cover picks back up again on Thursday. Mackenzie area this evening, a good chance of some snowfall, getting down to around -16. Tomorrow, also expecting some snowfall throughout the morning and throughout the afternoon. Wednesday, possibly getting some sunshine in the forecast. Still quite chilly though. McBride area. So tonight expecting to get around, 5 to 10 centimeters worth of snowfall. More of the same throughout the day tomorrow, possibly up to even, 15, 20 centimeters. Again, that's why that snowfall warning's in place. McBride area, tomorrow's high around -10. More of the same for Wednesday, possibly a morning flurry, but after that, maybe getting some sunshine. Quesnel area, expecting some snowfall this evening, getting down to around -14 tonight. Tomorrow's high around -8. A little bit cooler on Wednesday, but Wednesday maybe getting a little bit of a break as far as snowfall is concerned. And here in the Prince George area tonight, looking at a low of -16 with some snowfall. That snowfall, again, expected to continue pretty strong throughout the overnight period, continuing into Tuesday as well. And that chance of snowfall flurries is really lingering all throughout this week. So Wednesday, possibly getting some sunshine, still quite cold. Thursday, cooling down a little bit more. Friday, again, some snow in the forecast, but those temperatures starting to warm up a little bit to finish off the week.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
As Anthony Correa mentioned earlier, the Prince George Spruce Kings will have a bit of a gap before their next game as teams go into the BCHL All-Star break. The events kick off Friday, January 19th, when the BCHL Top Prospects game takes place at the South Okanagan Event Center in Penticton. Then the All-Star festivities kick off on Saturday, where Spruce Kings defenseman Kai Greaves will represent Prince George during the All-Star weekend. Like last year, everything will be happening on an outdoor rink, and there will be a friendly BCHL skills competition before the All-Star tournament takes place. We'll have updates on the event and on Kai Greaves as the weekend approaches. Most elite athletes have their catchphrase or nicknames. For NBA superstar Damian Lillard, it's Dame Time. He continuously hits game winners for whichever team he's playing for, so here are the top 3 Damian Lillard game winners, including his most recent one in tonight's CKP3.
We start with his first big-time shot.
A 3 wins the series. It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good! And the Blazers win the series for the first time in 14 years!
That shot winning the Portland Trail Blazers their first playoff series in 14 years. 0.9 left on the clock, and it's a catch and release buzzer beater. The legacy begins. Next, one of the most famous game winners of all time.
Lillard, long range 3, and it's good! At the buzzer! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
Waving bye-bye to the OKC Thunder. That shot from deep to end the series and help the Trailblazers move on. 37 feet out and one of the coldest shots ever. Finally, he's still doing it.
No timeouts left for the Bucks. Here comes Dame. 3 seconds. Dame pulls for the win. Oh, Dame time is alive and well in Milwaukee.
This shot was from last night. He's now with the Milwaukee Bucks, but it don't matter because Dame time is inevitable as Lillard takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
Hello from the CKPG Today side. A happy National Pizza Week to everyone watching. Of course,
It's a great week to be alive, not only because you get to experience another week of our show, but also get to experience us making pizza blindfolded. That's what we're going to have on the show today. As you heard last week, Carolina Hiller does like pineapples in her pizza. I like pineapples on my pizza, but we'll see. Who knows what's going to end up in there when you're blindfolded? How about you on the other side? What do you put on your pizza?
I also like to have pineapple on my pizza, and when I was younger, I used to have black olives on my pizza. It was a phase, I think, because I don't do that anymore, but again, it was something when I was a bit younger. That's all the time we have tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, your last look is an Indigenous tapestry at UNBC. Have a good night.